He beat Ryung.
Are you still thinking on it?
Yeah.
No, he beat he beat Ryung.
Yeah.
In the bottom left, we have from Team It's Gosu. It is Hwangsin. Andre, you coached him for those matches. Remember, he was supposed to play 2 Terrans. He beat Tasia and then Ryung.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense to me.
And top right, we have from Team Liquid is Liquid Sheth. It's okay, Andre. It's okay, Andre. Hwangsin has been playing really great Protoss versus Terran, but his Protoss vs Zerg is still yet to be proven in the league. And now we have a clash of 2 people who really want to make their records stand out a little bit more because they're jostling for wildcard and playoff positions. So I guess between these 2 players, Andre, who would you pick to win if you didn't have to favor one person based off personal bias? Who's considered the favorite, not necessarily your heart pick?
My heart pick is going with Hwangsin, but just with how dominant Sheth was last week, I really feel like his EVP is out of this world. Still, I picked Hwangsin because I'm going with my my motto. Never pick against Hwangsin, just because he's my student. How about you, Frodan?
I picked Hwangsin because I knew you were coaching him, and so far, the weeks you have been coaching him, Andre, he hasn't lost. And then the weeks you haven't been coaching him, he did lose. So it's just a simple formula like that, Andre. Can't go against history. I don't bet against that. Although Sheth beating MC last week was a great accomplishment. No one can ever take that away, especially considering that MC had a 7-1 record against Sheth going into that match. And everyone was betting against Sheth. Remember, look in the chat, it was over 90% in favor of MC. And thousands upon thousands of points were lost upon it. Of course, guys, if you're wondering what we're talking about, you have the availability to chat and bet within the chat before the match, and you use points. I think now we're implementing an odds system as well. I don't know exactly what the odds are on the match because that's up to the stream chat and the stream admin.
They're going to be cool. Static odds.
It's going to be like, it's basically an actual house where you're betting against the house.
Yeah.
But guess what, Andre? The house always wins. Okay, well, guess what, Andre? I was just told by my producers, we don't have that yet. So the house will win eventually, but not today.
What am I going to... I was banking on those NASL points. What are we going to do now?
Well, those points were used for giveaways. I think last week, the top 3 highest point earners earned Heart of Swarm beta keys.
That's always really nice. So definitely stay tuned for that because we will be offering more stuff as the weeks go on. That being said, Hwangsin's style in PvZ is to just go forward fast expansion. He likes to go sentry drops. That's like the main thing that he's been doing in all of his PvZs. Although a lot of Zergs have been catching on, still I do feel like Hwangsin will be using that on Entombed Valley. It's definitely a great map for really trying to segment your opponent's army, especially with something like Zealots over here at the 3rd base while there's an attack going on at the natural. You can very easily orchestrate that with War Prisms.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense as well, considering Hwangsin has that kind of varied style. And I mean, Hwangsin still is very aggressive in PvZ by nature. So we'll see how that kind of pans out. It is Entombed Valley, Andre. Entombed Valley is a map that a lot of people just say it's just so hard for Zerg to secure that 3rd. Do you feel like that's still a realistic expectation, though? Because Protoss has kind of been falling back away from that early pressure stages. Maybe with a Zealot Stalker, but you know, the 4-gate pressure that we used to see all the time isn't as popular anymore. Do you think the 3rd is a little bit more safe now that Protoss are relying more on defensive Robo or just Stargate?
You know, it's really hard to tell because Protosses, as you said, have been falling back on that. But along with that, Zergs have been getting a ridiculous win rate percentage. So I feel like it's really dangerous, actually, to let Zergs actually just fall back to their 3 bases, get up to 70 drones unharassed, and just go. I think, you know, if anything, that's probably the scariest style to go up against. And I would feel like Hwangsin should be actually applying a little bit of pressure, although, of course, the ball's in his court. He's the one that gets to choose, so we'll see in a little bit. But as it stands, he hasn't really chosen a tech path, nor has he gotten his additional 2 gas, which does make me think he's going to take his his 3rd base relatively soon. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to expect that. In Sheth's side of the base, you can see delayed extractors. He has gotten only 2, but they are delayed extractors. He's just starting gas right now. He started them around 6:15, so everything's super standard so far.
Now Sheth, let's see. The way he kind of been playing against MC last week, I remember watching when Ben and Kevin were casting. It was just an awesome display of like constant aggression, but pulling back at the same time and being able to flood his opponent whenever he knows when to, and also scale back aggression and be able to mix in some drones as well. And that's kind of really important, especially since Entombed Valley, it's almost guaranteed 3 base for Protoss, and there's certain moments where you have to say, I can't break him, but I can take an advantage by maybe taking a faster 4th base, teching faster, playing greedier, and that's kind of what Entombed Valley fosters. And it's actually really interesting, Andre, because when we did our map vote on what map we want to rotate out of the map pool, no one voted for Entombed Valley. Like, actually, everyone said Entombed Valley is fine, just fix no close spawn position in any vertical or horizontal, and Entombed Valley is actually a fine map. And a lot of people even say Entombed Valley might be the best map Blizzard has made for StarCraft 2 yet.
All they have to do is change the close positions on the Blizzard server, and I think we're good to go. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Entombed Valley really fostering that early 3 base that we see so many times. And I guess people just like to play towards those end stages and feel like, hey, Protoss can keep up just because they can grab their 3rd and not have to worry about anything. I mean, this 3rd base was put up around 7 minutes and 20-30 seconds, around there. So it's something really, really cool that we've been seeing, where Protoss can actually take that early base, choose to go there, and it's just not like, oh, I have to do 2 base pressure, else if I let the Zerg actually take 3 base and don't do a thing about it, well, they're just going to overwhelm my 3rd base if I take it any delayed, just because they can power up, and Protoss hasn't been able to power off this 3rd base just yet. So I like what we're seeing so far. Hallucination Scout is so important when you're doing a build like this. Robotics Facility is delayed just so very much, so you don't want to rely on observers to actually find out what's going on. From here, Charge N+1 is being upgraded, so we might even have a... I wouldn't be surprised if we have a hero style of opening, to be completely honest, coming out from Hwangsin, going more Immortal High Templar centric in the opening stages.
Just you say that, Andre, the Templar Archives was placed down for Hwangsin, and getting up charge upgrades. So it seems, yep, Hwangsin gonna start going for high mobility, has the option to do things like storm drops as well, maybe even go for some kind of unconventional attacks. We've seen some Protosses go for, like kind of like that, basically Colossus-free PvZ. I don't know how else to describe it. They kind of incorporate it later on. I know for a while Creator was kind of pushing that forward. I know Day9 did a huge daily on that as well, trying to see if he can basically not be so dependent on the Colossus, especially against early Roaches, or even the early Infestors that can kind of lock down the 1 or 2 Colossus and all of a sudden punish you for not really being able to invest in other things. So I kind of like going Templars. I just want to see how Hwangsin's going to be able to execute, because it's a lot more difficult way to play.
Absolutely. And the thing is, in this position, Sheth has actually gotten the chance to basically make whatever composition he wants. When he's not really being attacked for this amount of time, straight to Infestors off of just Zerglings. If Roaches were out, that's actually great for Hwangsin, because Hwangsin says to himself, well, my opponent doesn't have the gas, I guess, flexibility to make whatever he wants to. I mean, we could see potentially very, very fast Spire Tech and Greater Spire Tech, which already we have the Hive going down, by the way. But the fact of the matter is, Sheth is going to pretty much bullet line for this awesome composition, and meanwhile Protoss really doesn't have the capabilities. With only being on 3 base, yes, you can do a lot of very powerful attacks, but you can't really sustain against Hive Tech too well with only 3 bases.
Sheth gonna push out a lot of Zerglings as well, just so he can have some form of map control in case of the push. And now comes the mass spine crawl wall, guys. We've been seeing this in almost every Zerg versus Protoss, especially when it goes into the macro game. Sheth does have still a good amount of workers for an economy, but if you guys watched the OSL finals last night, DRG was doing this, and even he is, I consider, one of the most aggressive Zergs. It's pretty much expected to be nowadays in ZVP, just a mass wall where you can't push past.
Check out what's happening. Hallucinated Colossus. This is actually so cool, because it's forcing Zerg to play a lot more defensive. It looks like a big all-in, and realistically, he's actually getting Immortal Archon yet again. Zealot's going over to the 4th base, and we might see a huge counterattack coming in here, Frodan.
Yeah, it looks like we will. Hwangsin does have all of his gates barriered away, making a nice little wall, so there's no Zergling counterattack, but there might be a Zergling flank if Hwangsin's not paying attention to his units, which look like he's not. Although, ooh, Sheth does back off. A massive warp and using the Prism as well. Gonna lay a huge siege at the 4th base of Sheth. Does he have enough time? +2/+2 hasn't finished either, so his units are slightly weaker than optimal. And Sheth just gives up the base. A great decision because I don't think he was in position to defend it.
Really heads up play coming in from Hwangsin here, but he's going too far in. You do not want to be going against Spine Crawlers and Infestors. That's just so scary. Now he's going to donate, it looks like a couple Zealots and an Archon. You don't want to do that. Hwangsin needs to actually back up from here. I don't think actually attacking into this is too smart, but here we go. Infested Darrens are still not put out, but look at those Fungals. Beautifully done so far, Frodan.
And the Fungals really keeping the Zealots down in place. Hwangsin still pushing forward. Immortals doing great against the Spine Crawler wall, but does he have an answer really to the massive amounts of Zerglings? Although he does form a nice little wall using the Archons as well. And looks like Hwangsin's losing a lot of his supply of the Fungals, and the Zerglings really chewing through everything. Sheth did lose his 4th base, but looks like Hwangsin, do you think he's done enough damage here?
No. He hasn't. That was a poor attack. You shouldn't be attacking into that position. Yes, your opponent is still dangerous because they have high tech so fast. They still have that Infestor tech, but really you have no way of attacking into a Spine Crawler plus, Infestor Zergling. After you kill the 4th, you can actually say, I'm good, don't have to worry about anything. Let me tech up, I can equalize an economy and know that I'm more cost efficient. You know, those Colossus were actually really clever in that getting the Colossus like that, or the hallucinated Colossus actually says, give me map control. You cannot attack against me off of creep. And that's why Sheth had to wait so long. He was like, oh, I don't want to attack into Colossus. That's really dangerous. Look at how many Archons there are. I have to be really, really careful. And that's why he was saying to himself, just give Hwangsin that position. Hwangsin took the position, was able to attack his opponent at a nice angle, and then from there should have backed off. Unfortunately, now Hwangsin has to reset his whole army composition, and now he's facing a lot of troubles.
Now Sheth is going to go on a counter-aggressive, just wants to shut down the Protoss 4th base and really limit Hwangsin's gas. From here, Hwangsin, he's going to go for the Fleet Beacon and the Mothership, but that's just going to limit his ability to max because that's a huge investment of gas. 600 at least in that regard. Hwangsin, meanwhile, is also moving out with a very slow Warp Prism, but Sheth also has caught wind of it.
That's right. First warping going into the 3rd base over here. Zerglings will sprint over. That's why it's so important to actually have Zerglings on the field. And Roaches. Roaches are just going to walk past the 3rd base.
Oh,
unfortunate.
I thought you saw that.
And the 3rd will probably go down. The 2nd Warp Prism over here going to the main base. It looks like the 3rd gets cleaned up pretty easily, but this will not be able to do nearly as much damage as there's already Infestors and Corruptors to actually greet it. Although Sheth is just going to be like, no, it's okay. You can go.
Yeah. Sheth lets the War Prism go just for a little while. Meanwhile, more Templars are being warped in potentially for the Archons. A couple Storms are not bad as well. Again, you use the Storms to kind of zone off the Broodlords and the Infestors, protect your army from getting Fungals or even the Neuroparasite. As well as the feedbacks, really important. So don't kind of ignore too many High Templars, especially when you're preparing late game Protoss for Zerg armies.
That's right, and here we have, it looks like might be the first engagement over here. Zerglings and Roaches coming in. I don't think there should be any major attacks without the Broodlords, and Protoss should kind of dodge this as much as possible. 2 Colossus on the way out as we speak, and here's another warping going into the main base. Oh my goodness, this is a big warp, and this could do a lot of damage, Frodan.
Yes, if he snipes tech, it's going to be huge. Now, Sheth actually doesn't really have anything in at home to defend. He's sending everything back once again. Hwangsin's buying invaluable time for his Mothership. Still, though, I would like him to kind of move out and take a 4th base behind all this harass. And has to be really cautious not to over-invest in harass. Although he is making pure Zealots, which is fine, but when you start incorporating things like late game DTs, you have to be cautious. Gas count is very, very flimsy at this point for Hwangsin because he's still on 3 base, and he's also mined out of his main.
Yeah, but the big problem for Hwangsin at this point is the Mothership not being out in time. This Mothership is probably 2 or 3 minutes delayed. We're 20 minutes into the game. He should really want it around 17 minutes, I would say. 17 minutes, you want to actually start that coming up there. But of course we know that Hwangsin's just so delayed in that Mothership. You can see 50 energy on it. It needs 100 for a single Vortex. And these Broodlords are just going to be able to do massive amounts of denying and damage to the Protoss army, really dissuading Hwangsin from ever engaging.
And Sheth even has a burrowed Zergling there to deny Hwangsin's 4th base attempt. The huge army from Sheth just looks so intimidating. Can Hwangsin hold off against this? Is there energy for a Vortex, Andre?
Not just yet, but there is a Warp Prism in the top middle. Unfortunately, there's not enough supply limits to actually help his warp in, as this would have been super effective. He can just warp in like 10 Zealots. Of course, that's 20 supply, so you need a lot. And with Sheth breathing down his opponent's neck, it's so difficult to really say or justify, I can defend this and not have to worry. Trying to actually kill his own Stalker in an attempt to kill this one Zergling underground. Unfortunately, he misses it, but still, clever attempt. Still needs an Observer.
Hwangsin just going he's just going to expand to the bottom right, man. Just forget that one Zergling. I'm just going to go ahead and expand elsewhere. You either use his observers for spotting the army. Sheth now moving out. He still has 20 infestors. Man, that's so many. And he's able to still have a couple of I mean, he still has so much expendable resources he can kind of spend other places. He can make more spine crawlers. He could be expanding a little bit farther out. This is just looking very, very strong for Sheth, considering that Hwangsin, he didn't even have his mothership with his army. He's just going to use it for defensive recall.
Well, yes, that's right. Hwangsin has actually told me that he prefers recall over Vortex, as Vortex is susceptible. You put your mothership in a really disadvantageous way. And not only that, recall gives you the ability to be aggressive during times when you're normally very passive. Although, mothership is right in range of everything. If an infestor actually catches up to this, this could be really bad, Frodan.
Mothership is pretty much isolated. Where's the recall? Can kind of recall the units back to his base. Although I guess Hwangsin's just going to trade out a base for his own base. Has to kind of be careful. There's a lot of valuable tech, especially with the double robos and as well as the robotics bay. Even the cybernetics core is going to take so long for Hwangsin to rebuild anything. In fact, I think Hwangsin's just going to go for full out base trade and recall at the very last second possible.
Yeah, he's saying to himself, hey, I have a better army. Why am I trying to actually engage against this straight on? Let me go ahead and whittle it down a little bit and then say, okay, base trade, you can't refuel, which is normally Zerg's biggest power, and then I can go ahead and just play the war of attrition with you. Unfortunately for Hwangsin, you know, Sheth has a lot more money to work with and deal with because he's at his fourth base for just so very long. But it's going to be interesting. Infested Terrans are going over the third and fourth base. Mothership just trying to get into a good area. Looks like he is, and 200 energy is already up, but I know this is really dicey, Frodan.
Yeah, this is a really scary moment for both players, although Sheth has the right idea, starting to send his drones into different directions, expanding to the bottom left and the bottom right. He is starting to work into the main base as well. Hwangsin also working onto the hive as well as the Greater Spire. Oh, +2 air armor it did finish, Andre. Yep. That's going to be very helpful.
Yes, sir. And now we're going to see Hwangsin is kind of trapped here, but you're going to see a big recall, actually. And this is just improving the mobility of the Protoss race. How wonderful. From here, Hwangsin, what he's going to try to do is remax. You can see both these players have a bank. But a couple of Broodal Lords are not going to be blinked upon. Yes, they will. Very nicely done by Hwangsin. Wow.
He picks off a few here and there and tries to fall back. The Otis here now finally get into the spot for detection. And Hwangsin still has one mining base. He has another Nexus up. Sheth knows about it. I think Sheth's going to try to snipe that base and contain Protoss to 1. But it seems that Hwangsin is massively supply blocked, so we still can't make units for a while. Meanwhile, Sheth still has a little bit of freedom. Now starting to remake his pool. Sheth could also refill some of his army with roaches. He does have the Roachborn still alive. One of the few techs up still at this point.
That's pretty powerful. And again, going around the map, trying to be mobile.
Wait, he's leaving his base, though.
Yeah, he's trying to do this recall thing.
But you really leave this one base.
You know, it's so scary to actually justify this, Frodan. Hwangsin, I feel like the only way he can actually win this isn't a base trade from here. He has to confront the army. I think he's just so scared. I mean, the Stalker count is pretty tiny. Look at that. 7 Stalkers, is that right? 7 Stalkers and only 7 Archons. That's his only anti-air.
If he gets one massive Vortex, who knows? But he doesn't get a chance to. The Infestors catch a lot of the Protoss army, and those Archons are so valuable, a mass recall, but 2 of those Archons have been abandoned. That is not helping out Hwangsin's cause. I mean, Sheth's army is still not that strong either. Sorry, his supply is not that high either, but that's because he has no drones, and everything is just pure army. He's still got 9 Broodlords and 17 Infestors.
This is unfortunately really scary for Hwangsin. I don't know how he's going to deal with this. He needs a great Vortex over everything if he wants to win this, because these Infestors are just so powerful for Frodan. And I like the positioning so far. He has 94 mana right now, so he's just trying to buy a little bit of time. But I don't know if he's going to be able to get that. Fungal Growths are going directly on top of the army, and he really can't move from there. Archons and Stalkers can't get in range of the Broodlords, and our recall is going to save the units, but that's just going to buy a little bit of time. Does he have the chance? Okay, he's starting to warp in more Stalkers, but...
Yeah, I mean, Sheth's starting to replenish on Roaches, and Hwangsin doesn't really have an economy whatsoever. And at one point, he's just going to hit 0 on the mineral count. Sure, he's got lots of gas, but he's really got nothing else going for him. This is, right. And Sheth still has a few drones, and the most important thing is he has the capability of making lots of drones. So his economy is going to be okay, I guess, at one point. Meanwhile, Hwangsin's just going to be struggling for any kind of reinforcements.
That's right. I kind of feel for Hwangsin, but he is getting a Templar Archives. That would be so good if he can get minerals at this point. I think his income is 0. Yeah, it is 0. He has 4 Harvesters out in the field. But think, I mean, 2,000 gas. That's a ton of High Templars right there. If he has Storm, if he has, if he has Archons, that would be super great. But I don't know if he can get there, Frodan.
Hwangsin now warping in Templars. Wish he had a little bit more minerals. Still has some probes working on there. But again, Sheth's economy is... it's going to be able to just snowball a lot stronger than that of the Protoss army. Sheth, time is on his side. He doesn't necessarily have to attack. Although I feel like Protoss is still extremely weak. He can just add on more Roaches, more durability to his army, and just attack. Even if he just whittles down this base, because he knows Hwangsin's mining from the bottom right. I think as soon as he snipes that base, just has to focus on this last one, and that's it.
And Sheth is a little bit careful here. He doesn't want to overcommit, as well as Broodlords can evaporate with just a very quick Archon toilet. And as we can see, Mothership almost has 100 energy there, so you can definitely do that. It's going to come down to the last battle. If Sheth does it right, he should be able to win it very dramatically.
Wants to step in the right direction, Andre. Fungling the Stalkers, making sure they can't run, and that's easily 16 to 20 supply worth of Hwangsin's units. And that, you can't throw that away.
Very brutal, but a good Fungal Growth can change, or excuse me, a good Vortex could change everything. And no, he's dead.
When you say he, I don't know.
I
I don't know who you're talking about, Andre.
Dead.
Yeah, the Vortex does miss. Even if he does, I feel like he doesn't have enough Archons to insta-kill everything that's on the field from Sheth. Sheth has just way too much. Broodlords are now working on everything, and now Protoss army has run out of options. Mothership has no energy for a recall. Even a Narrow Parasite, look at that. Why not? GG gets called, and Sheth takes game number 1 on Entombed Valley. I guess saying those replays didn't really help Hwangsin that much.
No, they didn't. You know, one thing I would love to see Hwangsin incorporate into his play is actually dropship High Templars. I think it's one of the most important things to do. Just blindside, whenever you're going up against Broodlords, have like 2 or 3 of them inside of a Warp Prism. And just blindside the Infestors and go for mass feedback. You have to deal with that Infestor count somehow. And I think that's the best way to do it. Have High Templars in your army, but you can't go into it and just say, okay, I only have Stalkers, Archons, Colossus, I'm good. No, because you need to deal with those Infestors because they're the ones that are empowering those Broodlords.
Hey, Andre, I have a question. If you narrow Parasite or Warp Prism that's carrying units, does it change possession at all of the units?
Of the units? I'm not sure.
Well, that's a fun fact. If you guys know, let us know on Twitter or something. In the meantime, while you're on the internet, check out labyte.com. Go to their website, order some food delivery service from the LA or Orange County, and even type in the promo code NASL at the checkout menu. In fact, we have a commercial. Why don't you check it out?